who is Tegan? If you've seen the trailer for Jodie Whittaker's final episode, you'll know that she's joined by a few old friends.
Ace, I haven't heard from the Doctor for nearly 4 decades.
Just because it's only 3 decades for me.
2 former companions of the time traveller were revealed, Tegan Jovanka and Dorothy Ace McShane. But if you've never seen those eras of classic Doctor Who, you might be wondering who they are. You might have a vague idea, but not a full picture of what happened to them and who they are. So here's a bite-sized guide in handy video form to catch you up. In this video, Tegan.
I demand to see who's ever in charge of this ship!
Tegan Jovanka was born in Brisbane, Australia in 1960, growing up on various Australian farms. According to expanded media, she came from a Jewish family, but was not herself religious. Also, according to expanded media, she came to live in London when she was expelled from boarding school in Australia, and her father sent her to live with her Aunt Vanessa on the other side of the world. Bit extreme that, frankly, Dad. Eventually, though, she came to get employment as an air hostess, working out of Heathrow Airport. However, on the way to her very first day at work, she was being driven there by her aunt, they got a flat tyre. Typical. Tegan, seeking help, approached and entered a police public call box that happened to be beside the road near where they broke down. I think you can guess where this is going. Yes, she'd wandered into the TARDIS. Unfortunately, the console room wasn't occupied at the time, and exploring further into the corridors, she got a little bit lost. Even more unfortunately for her, the Doctor and Adric didn't know that she was aboard and took off, heading towards Logopolis. Even more unfortunate for her, while she was gone, the Master murdered her aunt, who had been still by the broken car. The Doctor did eventually discover her though, and she agreed to help take down the Master, who she now knew had killed and shrunk using the... what's it called? Matter? I've forgotten what his shrinky thing's called. The shrinky thing. Anyway, he'd done that to her aunt, and she knew about it. So, he wasn't her favourite person. Also, while on Logopolis, the Doctor and Adric reunited with Nyssa, a woman who they'd met on a previous adventure, and whose father's body the Master had stolen. So, all in all, that TARDIS team really don't like the Master. I mean, nobody really likes the Master, but they have a special grudge, this TARDIS team. Tegan and Nyssa would go on to become very close friends while travelling together in the TARDIS, and it's hinted in Russell T Davies' 2020 short story Farewell, Sarah Jane that the two reunited years after their travels and became a romantic couple. After seeing the Fourth Doctor fall down from a great height, regenerate into the Fifth Doctor, she decided to stay with him and travel, first heading to Castrovalva, where they defeated the Master again. Very quickly though, she decided she wanted to get back to Heathrow. However, the Doctor could never quite manage it. Always missing, something going wrong, they got distracted. Just never really got into Heathrow for a long time. It has been suggested that she continued to wear her air stewardess uniform as a kind of form of passive-aggressive reminder to the Doctor that she wanted to be taken home. During one adventure, she was possessed by the Mara, a Gestalt species that tried to take physical form by taking over a host in their dreams. The Mara left Tegan for one of the Kinder species, never know how to say that, but it did leave a lasting effect on Tegan, both psychologically and physically, with effects still to come throughout her time in the TARDIS. Eventually though, she began to enjoy her time in the TARDIS and adventures and became less worried about getting back to Heathrow. Tragedy came into her life once again though when one of the TARDIS team, Adric, was killed in a confrontation with the Cybermen. Soon after this though, the Doctor did actually manage to land them at Heathrow, albeit a few years after taking her and not in time for that first shift. The TARDIS crew though were quickly recruited by Department C-19 to help investigate the disappearance of a Concorde plane, an adventure which takes them all the way to the Jurassic era of history on another Concorde, and to face the Master yet again, who of course they defeat. Bet you didn't see that coming. And they return to 1980s Heathrow. Unfortunately, in his rush to leave, the Doctor just assumes that Tegan is happy being back home. After all, she had spent a lot of time asking him to get back there. So the Doctor and Issa just kind of leave without her. Tegan did manage to get her old job back at the airline, but was fired after assaulting an unruly passenger. According to the audio Waters of Amsterdam, she began a brief relationship with an android, Helix-12 I think his name was, who had identified her as a time traveller. But she broke off the relationship when she found him a little bit too clingy. I guess that's the trouble with dating an android, too intent on fulfilling your desires. On a visit to Amsterdam to visit her cousin in January 1983, Tegan found him missing. Turned out her cousin had been taken by the ancient Time Lord stuck in the antimatter universe, Omega. It's always Omega, as a funny Fivesome once said. He did this in order to lure Tegan to him and use her as leverage against the Doctor to get him to give up his body to Omega. After defeating Omega, Tegan rejoins the TARDIS team and travelled in time and space once more. However, the spectre of the Mara was never far away. She began having dreams of snakes, and eventually the Mara's control reasserted itself and forced her to set the TARDIS coordinates back to the planet Manusa, where she helped it feed on the negative emotions of people at the ceremony celebrating its defeat. The Doctor freed Tegan from Mara's control once again, he thought for good. At one point, the Doctor and Tegan visit Earth, and Tegan meets the Brigadier at several points in his timeline actually, also one of his pupils at the school he's teaching at, Turlough. Turlough is an alien posing as a human and comes to work for the Black Guardian against the Doctor. Tegan totally doesn't trust him from the start. During this adventure, Tegan contracts a virus that is only cured when the two brigadiers from different parts of his timeline meet and touch. The resulting, paradox energy cures both Tegan and Nyssa of the virus. Turlough asks to join the TARDIS team, which the Doctor agrees to. Tegan is not happy about that, which is a spot-on feeling as it turns out, as Tegan is still working for the Black Guardian and sabotages the TARDIS, causing it to end up on Terminus. It is here that Nyssa decides to depart the TARDIS, and is the last we see of her in the TV series, at least. Tegan does eventually warm up to Turlough when he properly rejects the Black Guardian. Now, I said we'd seen the last of Nyssa on TV, but Big Finish has the team reunite with her mere days later. It's actually a 50-year older Nyssa, who then joins the TARDIS team once more to travel with them. Also in Big Finish, the Mara wasn't yet done with Tegan either. It reasserted itself once more, and then in driving it out of her, the Fifth Doctor himself became possessed. Luckily, Tegan and Turlough managed to trap the creature using a ring of television cameras. The crew spend a bit of time in E-space, including visiting Adric's home planet, before Nyssa decides to stay behind, powering a portal to allow the others to return to N-space. In terms of companions, for a while Tegan and Turlough were joined by an android companion, Chameleon. Tegan and Turlough were drafted into the game of Rassilon alongside many former companions and incarnations of the Doctor. Tegan spent a while interacting with the First Doctor during this period and his granddaughter Susan, including having a lovely afternoon tea in the TARDIS with them. Among other adventures, she encountered the Sea Devils, so at least she'll be able to discuss them with Yaz and Dan in the special if they have any awkward silences that need filling. And according to Big Finish, she also became the ambassador, the Earth ambassador, to Gallifrey. No word on if she still holds that position. Imagine if she does, and in the Centenary special she finds out that the Master has killed all the Gallifreyans. She'd be like, what? Now what am I going to do for a job you kangaroos behind? Apologise to all the Australians out there for that accent. Just, Josh Schnair and Crispy Pro, please don't come after me. When Tegan experiences the violence of the Dalek Civil War played out on the streets of 1984 London, she decides that travel in the TARDIS has stopped being fun, and remembers advice her aunt once gave her about a job. If it stops being fun, it might be time to stop. I might be paraphrasing that a bit there, might not be the exact quote, but it's the gist. So she decides that this is where her travels with the Doctor shall end. And that's who Tegan is, and I think the main points of her story, up until she left the Doctor at least. Are you looking forward to seeing Tegan back in the Centenary special? What is your favourite Tegan story? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that jazz. It really helps me out, and I'd much appreciate it. I might have made one of these about Ace. If I have, go watch it. I'll put it in the end card. I'm making this one first, so it won't be there as soon as this goes up, but maybe in a week or so, I might do one about Ace. So look out for that at the end if you're watching this in a week's time. Yeah, this end card. Is it there?